What's going on, people? Welcome back to the United Stand. My name is Maud and we are back for another 2 p.m. afternoon show. How is everybody doing in the chat? There was some amazing, I say amazing anyway, but there's some really interesting news that's come out in the last couple of hours, which I'm going to be bringing to you. But I want to know how you guys feeling. Before we get into any news, how are you guys feeling about Manchester United? I mean, Christmas is coming up in 2 days. So if I don't see you before then, Merry Christmas. I'll definitely see you before New Year's because we've got a couple games coming up. But if I don't see you before the end, before Christmas comes, Merry Christmas, and make sure you're dropping that in the chat as well. But look, there's so much news that's come out in the last couple of hours. Zirkzee agreement. Is it confirmed? Is it not? I'm going to let you guys know 100%. Semenyo. Manchester United are part of the front runners for Semenyo, but there's a few other teams that are really making it difficult for us. There's some teams that are making it difficult. So we're going to go through all that information. There's also some information about a youngster called Ayyoub Bouaddi from Lille, which has been on Manchester United's radar, 18-year-old, and we're going to dive into that player and if Manchester United are going to potentially swoop in for him as well. And lastly, Baleba. Big hit on Baleba. Any people out there that are big fans of Baleba, I'm going to have to break the news to you about Baleba. But we're going to go through all of that in today's show. But like I said, let me know how you guys are feeling in the chat. Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling excited? Are you worried about United? Or are you just thinking, you know what, the 2 days before Christmas, I'm not thinking about football right now. You know what I mean? But look, let's go straight into it. Zirkzee. Now, there's been loads of reports about Zirkzee going away in January for a potential loan or even being sold in January because of, obviously game time and etc. But the news has come out today that Roma have already reached an agreement with Joshua Zirkzee. Manchester United are now not looking to loan them out, but they only want a permanent exit. But however, Roma are pushing for an initial loan deal. So there's so much going on with Zirkzee. But let me know in the chat, do you want Zirkzee to go out on loan or would you rather a permanent deal? Because there's positives and there's negatives to both of them. If he goes out on loan, it means he can go and actually play football, develop a little bit more as a player. And potentially we can bring him back in the summer as, a more experienced player. He would have had loads more game time and we possibly might need him anyway next season, considering we're going to have so much more games. He can play in the 10, he can play as a striker, so he can come back into the team next summer and join Manchester United again. Or should we let him go for a permanent deal, which means we'll get a fee for him, which means we can use that money to go and buy, whether it's a midfielder or if it's going by a wing back or even another striker we might potentially need. What are you thinking? Would you rather Zirkzee go out on loan or go out on a permanent deal? I'm going to read the rest of the information out. So Gazzetta dello Sport, an Italian sports report, says that the player himself has already agreed to move to the Italian club. It adds that the negotiations between the two clubs over a loan deal with an obligation to buy in the summer was in the final stages. However, Manchester United are now not looking to loan out Joshua Zirkzee and they only want a permanent exit. So what would you rather want? Would you want the permanent exit or would you want a loan move? And send in your super chats if you have any real topics that you want to bring in, and I'll make sure to read it out and we can all discuss them and debate them in the chat. But a lot of people are saying permanent in the chat. I'm seeing so many more permanents. I feel like, loads more permanents in the chat than loan. For me, it's tough because realistically, we're going to need kind of as many players as we can next season, because if we are, hopefully we will be playing in Europe next year. That's another 10 to 15 games. Hopefully we go further on and we get to the final, but that should be another 10 to 15 games that we play in Europe next year, which we're going to need a big squad for. And we're already seeing this season with the amount of injuries that we've had that we are running thin. We're running thin in a couple of positions, and Sesko's been injured already this season. Mount's been injured, and we know he can easily get injured again next season. We don't want him to. I'm not saying I want him to, but we know it's capable of happening that Mount could get injured. And Bruno's now injured as well. Let's say Bruno does stay, which is a whole other conversation, but let's say Bruno does stay next year. We don't know if he could go and get injured. This is the first injury at the club. It might be a recurring thing, so we will need players to be able to play in that 10 position and also play as a striker. So unless, we do go and get rid of Zirkzee, are we going to go and bring in another striker to kind of fill in that position? That's something that you have to really consider. But Yeah, so that's the report there with Zirkzee, but I guess that kind of ties into the next part of the show, Semenyo. And this is where it's kind of like a one in, one out. If we let Zirkzee go, it kind of gives more of an incentive to bring Semenyo in. And the news on Semenyo is that, I mean, first of all, Manchester United and Man City are both keen on landing the Bournemouth player when the market opens next week. However, Chelsea have launched a shock bid to land Semenyo. Now, we all know, look, Semenyo is probably one of the most sought-after attackers in the Premier League right now. All the other attackers, all the other strikers, or even wingers as well, that everyone's looking at already have their final destination club. You know, you look at the top players in the Premier League, the Haalands, the Salahs, and et they're already at their clubs that they want to play for. A lot of them are very experienced as well, whereas Semenyo is one of the best attackers in the league this season who is looking for a move. So most clubs, most big clubs in the Premier League are all after him. United are after him because, let's be honest, we do need some more attackers. And we need a left wing back, which he'll probably end up playing there. City, they've always chopping and changing their wingers. They just got rid of Grealish this year. Doku, Savinho, good players, but Semenyo, in my opinion, is a level above those guys. And then you've got Liverpool, who still need a left winger. I mean, and to be fair, Salah might not be here next year. He probably won't be here next year, so they still need two wingers. Then you've got Arsenal, who need another left winger just in case Trossard, or in my opinion, he's better than Trossard and Martinelli. But just in case one of those two leave, they're going to need another winger. And then Chelsea just want to buy everyone. Let's be honest, Chelsea just want anyone who's available. So pretty much nearly every team, and you can even throw Tottenham in there as well. Tottenham probably want to bring him in to their club. So every team is after Semenyo this summer and January, to be fair. So it's up to him. The news that I got was that, and this is from Ben Jacobs, who actually told me this, the deal is really just up to whoever Semenyo wants to go to. It's not about who bids the highest. He's got a release clause. It's going to be 60 to 65 million based on his release clause anyway. So it's all about who does Semenyo want to go to. And that's why as United, we need to give him the best incentive to come to United. We need to let him know that, look, we're not just here to kind of float around for the next 2-3 years, and then maybe after 3 years we're going to start contending, or after 4 years we're going to try and get Champions League. No, we need to get Europe, and not just Europe. We need to get Champions League. If we want to get Semenyo into our club, if he doesn't come in January, if he wants to decide, you know what, I'm going to stay at Bournemouth to the end of the season and then decide, we need to get Champions League football, or we're not going to get him. Because all of those other teams are contending for it and will most likely get it. Maybe other than Liverpool, which is hilarious. But most of those other teams will probably get Champions League football. So if we want to give Semenyo a valid reason to come to the club, we need to make sure we're getting Champions League, definitely at least Europa League. We need to make sure that we're playing good football. I don't think he's going to want to come to a club who are still trying to figure it out. Amorim needs to be secure, and he needs to know that the manager who's at the club when he comes is going to be the manager for the next couple of years, because there's no point in coming to a club who have a manager who's on the brink of potentially leaving or potentially getting fired. Amorim needs to be secured in his job, so whether that's from the owners, in Ineos, they need to make sure that, yes, Amorim is going to be the guy for the foreseeable future. But not only that, his position also needs to be secured. So if we go and get Semenyo, we can't go and get another top-class left wing-back or try to put him into the 10 position, knowing that he's going to be competing with Cunha and Mount and whoever else is there. He needs to have his position secured in this team if he's going to come. So these are all the things that United have to think about by the time it comes to the end of the season to kind of sway Semenyo to come to the club. Because in my opinion, I want him to come. I want Semenyo to come, not just because I'm Ghanaian, he's Ghanaian as well. That's one reason, but like I said before, he's one of the best attacking players in the Premier League. He can play on both sides. He's both-footed. If anyone was to get injured, because we have so many injury problems, Semenyo can fill in anywhere in that attack. Even at right wing-back, left wing-back, right 10, left 10, as a striker, he can play in any of those positions. He's so versatile. So for me, if you to bring in one more attacker, a top attacking player, who's also Premier League proven and has something more to prove, as in going to a bigger club and playing European football, Semenyo is the number one option in my opinion. But yeah, let me know also, what do you think? Is Semenyo, should he be our number one option in terms of attackers? Yes, we need a midfielder. Yes, we need other players. But in terms of attacking players, would he be your number one option? For me, I think he is. But there's a little bit more news in here that's just come up. So Chelsea, just to reiterate, Chelsea make initial inquiry to Antoine Semenyo camp over conditions of a January switch. Chelsea already intended to sign one attacker next summer, so the move for the Bournemouth forward will be accelerating plans amongst multiple contenders. And that's from The Athletic. So Chelsea are fully trying to get this guy into their club, which that's just greedy. I don't care. Chelsea are the greediest club in the Premier League. I'll say it. It's a United channel. It doesn't matter. Chelsea are the greediest club in world football. They will go and get anyone and everyone who's available just so that they don't go somewhere else. Think about how many players that Chelsea just brought in for no reason and they barely even played. You know what I mean? So Chelsea are just, I don't know. They just do whatever they want. They've got very, very rich owners who just spend a lot of money, let's be honest. So, yeah, let me know what you think about Semenyo. Do you want him to come to United and be a starter for us for that 65 million in January or summer? But also, like I said, send in your super chats. There's a super chat that's come in, and I'm gonna read them all out, and we can discuss any topics that you guys want to bring into the show. So, super chat from Daniel Thompson. How you doing? He says, "Hope you're well, Maud." /TUS, hope you and family have a great Christmas, mate. If you meant selling Zirkzee to get Semenyo, I'd do it, but a loan could help Joshua Zirkzee. I mean, it's early Merry Christmas, but Merry Christmas to you as well. And I think, yeah, Zirkzee for Semenyo, like, respect to Zirkzee, because I really like Zirkzee. I'm a fan. I don't care. I'm a fan. There was a point where I was a bit skeptical about him last season, maybe earlier on last season, but he won me over. He completely won me over. So I'm a fan of Zirkzee. However, there's levels, and I think Semenyo is a different level to Zirkzee. He's a different level. So like you said, if it meant selling Zirkzee to get Semenyo, I'm all for it. I'm definitely all for it. They're obviously not the same price, so we are still going to have to pay some kind of fee for him. But yeah, if selling Zirkzee opens a door for Semenyo, then I'm not going to complain about that. But if we can keep both of them, even better. Happy days. But again, you are right as well. A loan would definitely help Zirkzee. A loan would help a lot of players at our club right now. Let's be honest. A loan would probably help Manu, would probably help Zirkzee, it probably help a few of the young players as well. It probably help Dorgu, a loan somewhere else. There's a few players in the team that a loan would really, help them and benefit them just so they can get more game time, more experience on the pitch. I would have said the same thing about Aiden Heaven as well, but he seems to be getting quite a bit of game time recently. So maybe it'd actually be better for him to stay at the club instead of going out. But yeah, I agree. I think a loan would definitely help Zirkzee to develop his game. But yeah, moving on. So that's the real big news out there. Zirkzee, Semenyo. I mean, it's looking like to kind of reiterate the point and let you guys know that the news that's come out. If you just come into the show, Zirkzee agreement has been reached with Roma, and Manchester United are not looking to loan him out. They would rather a permanent deal, but Roma would rather do a loan. So there is going to be that negotiation, that debate as to whether or not he goes out on loan or for a permanent deal. But also Semenyo, Chelsea are making serious inquiries. Even though the two front runners for Semenyo right now is Man United and Man City, Chelsea are looking to swoop in and take that deal. But yeah, anyway, moving on. So a little bit of cross promo. As you know, over this Christmas period, there's a little bit of football in between. And on Boxing Day, Man United are the only team playing. So just to make sure, once again, that everyone's watching us, because how many games has there been this season where we're playing by ourselves on a Monday or on a Thursday or whatever day it is? Once again, on Boxing Day, Friday, Manchester United are playing Newcastle. Big game. Honestly, huge game. The Battle of the Uniteds. I mean, let's be honest, there's only really one real United in the country. There's only one real United. I'm sorry to West Ham, sorry to Leeds and Newcastle. There's only one real United, and that's Manchester United. So this is going to be a little bit of a battle, a little bit of a, kind of like a little bit of a rivalry there. I mean, we have beaten them in the final. I think they beat us in the Carabao Cup last year. Was it them who beat us in the Carabao Cup? 3-0 or something like that. So there's that short-term rivalry, I'm going to call it, between United and Newcastle, where there is a bit of bragging rights as well. But we are going to be playing them on Boxing Day. the game will start at 8 p.m. But as you guys know, on match days, there's so much content that's being put out across the channel. 6 p.m. will be the countdown to kickoff. I'll be there, Beth will be there, and we're gonna have some other guests as well. And the fan forum after the watch along will be live. So make sure you are checking out the channel throughout the whole day for that match day content, and that'll be our on Boxing Day. But another super chat, well, a couple of super chats that have come out as well. Let me read them out quickly. So Emily Derry says, I'd love Semenyo, but we need midfielders more. And I wonder if a player like Miguel Gutierrez, I'll be honest, I don't know much about that player, at Napoli or Raum at Leipzig would suit us better. I do know about Raum because I watched him play the Leipzig game against, we didn't watch him play against Union Berlin the other day. Very, very good player. Very, very good player. I don't know a lot about Miguel Gutierrez. I feel like I'm pronouncing his name completely wrong, but that's a player I'm going to look into. Thank you for bringing him up. That's what the community is about, bringing up these players to let everyone else put them on the radar. So next time I do a show, I'm going to talk about him, so make sure you check him out as well. But I do agree, yes, midfielders, definitely more important, definitely. I think everyone understands that, everyone agrees with that. And that's what we're going to actually move on to next in the show, a little bit about the midfielders. We're going to discuss them. But yes, midfielders are more important. But it's one of them opportunities that you can't just miss out on. If a player like Semenyo is there for the taking, and he is going to cost you about 65 million or so, you kind of got to go for it. You got to go for it. So I completely understand what you're saying. I'm going to look into this Gutierrez guy, but Raum is definitely a good player at Leipzig. I also remember I watched that Leipzig game, and Diomande was a top player as well in that game. Probably the best player for me in that game, and he's also another left-sided player, so he could be in the conversation with, I guess, if we don't get Semenyo, another left-sided player, very, very young, I think he's 19, who could potentially be on the radar for Man United. Do you fancy our chances more on Semenyo? I do. Look, I always back up United. I'm always going to back United when it comes to players. I remember someone put a super chat one time and said, we've lost our pull. I don't know. I don't think we have, you know. I always think, like, has it finally happened? Has United finally fallen down the pecking order to the point where we just can't bring in any players? But look, we took Euro off Madrid. We took Mbeumo off everyone. Everyone wanted Mbeumo. Everyone wanted Cunha. We took Cunha off everyone. We took Sesko off Arsenal. You know, there's been so many players over the past few years that are highly sought after players, not just in the Premier League, but across Europe. And United have swooped in. Yes, we pay a lot of money. Yes, no one's going to deny that. But at the end of the day, like, if you've got the money to spend it. You know what I mean? You can't blame us for being rich. You can't blame us for having money to be able to spend on players. At the end of the day, the players are going to want to go to where they want to go to. So I feel like we do have to pull to bring in a player like Semenyo. It just really, like I said, in this particular situation, in this particular case, it is more about what he wants to do. We can say to him, look, we're going to give you X amount of money. We're going to pay, I mean, everyone's got to pay the same amount. It's a release clause, but we're going to pay the 65 million. But Semenyo says, I don't like the projection of the club. I don't see where this is going. He might not even believe in the manager. He might not believe in the other players around him, around the club. He might feel like, you know, the other clubs have better teams or better structures around the players. So he might just say, look, I'd rather go to Chelsea. I'd rather go to Arsenal. I'd rather go to Liverpool or City just because they're doing better than us at the moment. So it's all up to him for this one. It's all about what he wants to do. Maybe I should call one of my aunties and see if they're related to Semenyo, and maybe I can put a call in. I'll try, innit? I'll put a call into Semenyo. But yeah, moving on. More news about, there's even a little bit of news here about Diomande. Like I spoke to you a little bit before. He plays obviously for Leipzig, great young player. But the news is that Man United have identified Diomande as a potential target if they fail to land Antoine Semenyo, although they would not pursue their interest in the Bundesliga man until the summer. So like I mentioned before, Diomande, if you don't know about him, go and check him out. Great player. Honestly, a great player. But it's looking like we won't end up getting him till next summer. So that's just someone to keep on your radar. Maybe watch a few clips of him and keep an eye out for him, potentially to see what we can do next summer. But anyways, another young player that I want to talk about, and this one is, he's a top player. Top player for his age. And it is Ayyoub Bouaddi. Ayyoub Bouaddi. If you've not heard about him, Ayyoub Bouaddi, remember the name. 18 years old, plays for Lille. Very talented midfielder. And the news about Ayyoub is that the 18-year-old is seen as a long-term successor with a lot of scouts watching him extensively. He's recently just signed a new contract with Lille, a 5-year contract, which takes him up until around 2020. I think he signed it at the end of last year, so it takes him to 2029. And the reports are claiming that if teams were considering to buy him, it would cost around 39 to 44 million. Now, like I said, talented player, 18 years old. Let me read out some facts about him. So like I said, young 18-year-old French midfielder. He made his senior debut at 16 years old. He was the youngest player to play in a European competition. Absolutely crazy. 16 years old, he made his debut for Lille. And he also made his Champions League debut last year, October, on his 17th birthday. So this guy, from already at a young age, he's already used to playing around this bigger, stronger, older competition. He's been doing it for a couple of years now. He made his debut at 16. And currently, right now, he's a regular in the Lille team. He's a midfielder. He can play as a DM, but he's more of an all-round midfielder, I'd say. And like I said, new contract until 2029, but a lot of clubs are also looking at to bring him into their club in the next, possibly even this summer or next year. But a little bit about his actual game. He's technically gifted. He's known for his composure on the ball, his game intelligence, ball retention, positional awareness is amazing. But one of the main things that I'd say stands out to me, especially when it comes to what we need at United, is his ability to link the defence and attack from deep and central areas. We need players who, because we're playing with this two-man midfield and it kind of feels like you have to be able to do everything, we don't only need someone who can get around the pitch, but we need players that are comfortable on the ball, because our two midfielders need to be able to play in unison and they need to be able to link up with whoever's in defence and also whoever's in attack. So we need players that are great on the ball, but also very, very press resistant and can move the ball in them lines. But when Senny Lammers has the ball, he's not having to just look for Sesko. He can look for whoever's in the midfield, spray it into them in the middle of the pitch, and they can bring it, take it on a half turn and make things happen. Whether it's work it out to the wider areas or work it through the midfield to our 10s or our striker. We need players in that midfield who are great on the ball, especially in them central areas. So yeah, he's very, very valuable in that build-up and that transitional play, which is what we need as a player. Obviously, he's only 18, so I'm not expecting him to come into the club next summer and be that player. There are obviously bigger names that we are going to sign. I'm saying this from now. We are going to sign these bigger name players like a Wharton, like a Elliot Anderson, Baleba we're going to touch on in a little bit, but these kind of bigger names, we 100% are going to get one of those players in the summer, maybe even two of them. But this is a player who, in my opinion, is something that we should be looking out for, who in the next, like I said, 3, 4, 5 years, he could be in the contention to being a starter for us, or being, let's say we do only get one of the bigger name players. He's a younger player that can come in and develop in that position. So let me know what you guys think about him. If you know anything already about him, let me know what you think. A youngster, I'm not going to call him a wonder kid because I don't think a lot of people even know much about him yet. And I still need to see a little bit more of him play. But from what I've seen so far, from a few of the clips that I've watched of him, from the scouting reports that I've seen, from people who are fans of Lille, what I've heard them say about him, he seems like a really, really, really good, talented young player. So that's someone to keep on your radar for going into next summer. Now, let's talk a little bit about. Somebody said in the chat, I just seen it then, basically you want Kobbie Mainoo. More or less. I'm not gonna lie, that is what I was thinking. When I was researching him and looking into the kind of player he was, I was thinking, okay, well, that kind of ticks off for Kobbie. That also ticks off for Kobbie as well. Yeah, I guess he does have, some good game intelligence, composure on the ball. He's pretty composed. He is valuable in transition as well, in the build-up play. He does have a good mindset. Yeah, these kind of does tick off for Kobbie Mainoo, but I don't know. It's one of them ones. Imagine if we had both of these young players at our club that are both developing at the same time and they're both getting good game time in the team. We might, in the next couple of years, we might already have what we need in that midfield, the foundation of that midfield with Kobbie Mainoo and Ayyoub at both similar ages, both very young, and both learning and, like I said, developing at the club at the same time. So, Kobbie Mainoo was a part of my show today, but I want Kobbie Mainoo to stay for that reason, so he can continue to develop at United and become a starter for us one day. And it kind of doesn't really, if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense to get a youngster in when we've already got a young player who can do the same thing. But I don't know. Each to their own. Each to their own. We'll see what happens in January if he does stay or if he decides to leave. But look, let's move on. Carlos Baleba. Now, you guys know I'm a fan. Well, you might not know that, but I'm a fan of Baleba. I feel like with me, I understand Baleba hasn't had a great season at all. I've seen it. We've all seen it. Every time Baleba gets subbed off, somebody messages me about it. But Baleba subbed off again. He must not be good of a player. I know. I see it. People tell me all the time. However, the way I look at it is, Carlos Baleba has not lost ability. He's not lost the player who he is. He's not had a big injury, or he's not, something drastic hasn't happened at the club, or anything like that. For me, I feel like it's more a case of, this is the first time in his career where he's had this much pressure and this much attention to go and perform, because he knows now for 100% Manchester United will go and bring you in if you play well. Manchester United are already on the table to get you into the club. And I think considering what happened at the end of last season, where we were pretty much asking questions about his availability to bring him in, because it didn't go through, that's probably in the back of his mind. And sometimes these things can have an effect on your performances. I feel like it would have even been better if United just didn't attempt at the end of last season and we just kind of let him go and we just didn't approach any conversations, because at least then he's still trying to prove himself almost. He's still trying to be the best player that he can possibly be, because he doesn't know where he's going to go next year, if he even ends up leaving Brighton. But because we came in for him and said, look, what's going on? How much are you thinking? 100 million, 80 million? Those kind of things kind of sit in the back of a player's mind sometimes, especially considering I saw his wage at the end of last season. Not to say that this is anything small, because it's probably more than everyone watching here put together, but I saw his wage was sitting like 25k a week or something like that, or 30k a week. Now, like I said, for football, for any normal person, that's crazy wages. But I mean, compared to what he would potentially get at United, these kind of things also play on your mind. I could double my wage, literally, not double, triple, quadruple my wage if I get this move. So my first thing I would say about Baleba is I still believe that there's a player in there, and it's more a mentality thing. We need to find a way to get the best mentality out of that player. We need to find a way to help him to be able to help him to be able to come in the club and change his mindset back to needing to prove himself again, so we can get that same player that we saw last season and the season before that. Because I still believe, considering his age as well, he's very, very young. He is one of the best midfielders that, genuinely, overall, in terms of overall ability, he's still one of the best midfielders that I feel like is in the Premier League. He just needs to be able to show that. So the news that's come out, I say all of that to say this, the news that's come out is Brighton are not willing to sell him until 2027. Brighton are not willing to sell Baleba until 2027. They're prepared to hold him for the next 18 months until his valuation rises. Now, I can understand why Brighton want to do that. They just went from a £100 million player to potentially a £60 million player in a space of a year. That's £40 million that they could possibly lose out on if they sell Baleba this summer. Now, from a business point of view, it makes absolutely no sense for him to go and sell him. If they can potentially bring him back to where he was last year in the space of 18 months, then that means United are going to go back and pay another 100 million. Or another club will have to go back next year, or well, technically the year after 2027, and pay this 100 million if they can get Baleba back to the point where he was at last summer. But right now, let's be honest, because of his drop in form, his valuation has decreased. It 100% has. And whether that's 60, 65, 70 million, Brighton have lost out on potentially another 30 million, 40 million on Baleba because of his form. So I get why Brighton are saying, nah, I don't want to sell him now. I don't want to sell him now. We're gonna bring him back. We're gonna bring this conversation back up in the 2027 when he's back to full form, and then we can talk about selling him. But right now, we don't want to get rid of him. But that kind of makes, I guess in a way, that kind of narrows down our options a little bit more in terms of who we can get, because then that kind of leaves it up to Adam Wharton and, in my opinion, Elliot Anderson. If we're going to get in a player, and it has to be one of those two players has to be on the cards for United. If Baleba's completely out of the option for next summer, Adam Wharton or Elliot Anderson has to be one of the players. There's no debate. We can't go and honestly, if United go, let's say we don't bring anyone in January, which you never know what could happen with United. Sometimes we bring players in, sometimes we don't. But let's just say for next summer, if we start the season and either Carlos Baleba, Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton is not a Manchester United player, Ineos, you have failed us. You have failed us because they 100%, at least one of them has to come to the club. And there's no real excuse because we've been talking about this for a long time. We know we need a midfielder. This isn't new news. We've been struggling with midfielders all season. Right now, we don't even have a starting midfielder. We don't. We're going to play Martinez next game. And to be fair, I've held my hands up before already on one of the shows and said, I did not realize Martinez would be this good in the midfield. He's actually way better than I thought he would be. So I guess it's not necessarily a bad thing that Martinez can play there. But we don't have any of our starting midfielders available right now, which kind of just goes to show more that we definitely need a midfielder going into January and even more in summer. So for me, one of those three players, without a doubt, has to be an option. And if Baleba isn't available, Adam Wharton or Elliot Anderson, welcome to the club. You will be a Manchester United player in the summer. Now, a lot of people are saying as well, Stiller, and I know there's other players like Gomez. I've seen news recently about Ruben Neves as well, potentially coming to United. Now, these to me are all players that they're squad players. I don't see these guys coming in and being nailed on starters for Manchester United straight away because we're looking for, in my opinion, we're looking for world-class potential. We're looking for players who are going to be our Declan Rice. They're going to be our Caicedo. They're going to be our, who else is there? Top midfielders in the world. Our Cole Palmer or our Jude Bellingham or the best midfielders in the world. They're going to be in that conversation for United, whether it's in a midfield pivot, where, depending on the formation, we seem to be changing formation a lot recently, actually. So depending on where they play in our team, we're gonna need someone that's in that conversation. And so for me, Stiller and, like I said, João Gomez and Ruben Neves and what's his name, Gallagher, all these guys are decent players, but they're not gonna be, in my opinion, in that bracket. They're not gonna come into the team and be in the conversation for being one of the best midfielders in the league, if not in the world. And that's what we need. We need at least one of those kind of players. So our main focus, our main priority has to be looking at, like I said, Wharton, Anderson, or Baleba. And they're the three players that I feel like we need to bring in. But like I said before, let me know in the chat, what are your opinions on that? Who do you feel like has to be our number one option going into the summer? Super chat in there from Lecky, I think. Yeah, I can't tell if it's Lecky or the whole name together. I'm just gonna say Lecky. Have you watched Stiller? I've watched a few little. Obviously, I don't watch them play all the time, but when the news came out about us potentially getting Stiller, I did loads of shows around that time. So I did my research. I spoke to people. My thing is about. Because at the end of the day, I'm never going to be able to watch loads of 90-minute games of these players because I'm not going to go back and be watching countless games time and time again. My thing is about speaking to people who do watch him. What are your opinions on him? What are his best attributes? What's his mentality like? I go and read scouting reports and all these kind of things to see what are his best attributes and how's his career been so far? Has he kind of had dips? Has he had injuries? All these kind of things. And my interpretation from Stiller is that he's a great player. He's got loads of potential as well to even elevate from what he already is, but he isn't at that level, like I said, of a Elliot Anderson. When I say level, I don't mean like the club that he plays for, but I mean just ability and potential. He's not at the level of these guys that I'm mentioning as well. He's more of a player that you bring him in for around 40 million. He can be a rotational player to play in maybe European games next season or cup games. Obviously, he could play Premier League games as well. But he's not going to be the kind of player right now to kind of walk into the team and kind of take over and be that main guy for us. That's what I've heard. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he come in and he could do that, and there's no reason why he couldn't, because anyone can do whatever they want. But that's just what I've been hearing and what I've researched on it and what I've found out. But he is definitely a good player, and I would not complain if United said we're going to go and get a Stiller. I definitely wouldn't complain. But I still think that we need to get that one guy that's just, yeah, he's our guy. He's our main midfielder in this team. Super chat from D0P says, a player like Neves would be good for the likes of a Wharton. would be good for the likes of a Wharton, Anderson or Baleba as they can gain from his experience. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah. I mean, they can never... He's obviously playing in, where is he, Al Hilal? He's playing in a completely different league right now. So in terms of Premier League experience, all these kind of things, yes, he obviously has played in the Premier League, but I think right now, I don't think Elliot Anderson or Wharton are going to be looking at Ruben Neves and thinking, let me go and learn from him. You know, he's won everything. You know what I mean? It's not like he's a Casemiro or anything like that. I think we've already got them kind of players at the club. We've got a Casemiro here. We've got a Bruno Fernandes here. We've got players who are experienced. Well, that's if they stay in it. That's if they do stay next season, I guess. But we do have experience already in the club. Even like Martinez, very experienced player, World Cup winner. But I understand your point though. You know, Wharton, Anderson, Baleba, they're all very young players, so they are going to need players who are more experienced to kind of learn from. But anyway, look, listen. Thank you guys for watching and listening to this show. It's been a great show, so much information that's come out. And I'm sure there's going to be loads more news that's going to come out throughout the day. So make sure you go and check out the evening show. 8 p.m. there'll be a show later on. So make sure you're checking it out. And a super chat from Peter Govchevsky. And he said nothing. He's just donated. You know what? Thank you. You're a top guy, top bloke. Thank you. But yeah, thank you guys for listening and watching this show. And I will see you on the next game on Boxing Day.